The Xylos, 7 interplanetary space station glowed with an ethereal blue light, suspended in the darkness of deep space like a jewel of technological advancement. Known across the galaxy as a hub of scientific research and diplomatic relations, it housed representatives from dozens of species, all gathered under the watchful eye of the station's advanced AI system, Oracle Prime. Alex sighed, adjusting the small pack slung across their shoulder as they stepped off the transport shuttle. A newly assigned maintenance technician, they had no grand ambitions beyond completing their contract without drawing attention. The small personal first aid kit tucked in their bag was an old-fashioned relic from their grandmother, something of a family tradition. Space is unpredictable, she always said, and sometimes the simplest solutions are the most reliable. The central waiting hall buzzed with activity. Various species mingled before the upcoming conference on safe technological development guidelines. The diversity was breathtaking. Crystalline beings from the Andromeda sector, gaseous entities contained in sophisticated environment suits, reptilian diplomats with scales that changed color with their mood, and many more Alex couldn't even identify. "Welcome to Xylos 7, announced a melodious voice from hidden speakers. Oracle Prime is pleased to assist with any needs or inquiries. Current station status, optimal." Alex nodded absently, finding a quiet corner to wait for their supervisor. They had arrived early for their first shift and decided to observe the proceedings. The atmosphere felt tense but controlled, like the calm before a storm. Suddenly, the air seemed to shift. The temperature rose slightly, almost imperceptibly at first. "Attention!" Oracle Prime's voice remained eerily calm. Minor environmental fluctuation detected. Temperature variance of 3.2 degrees above standard parameters. Optimization protocols engaged. Please maintain current activities. Resolution estimated in 7.4 minutes. Near Alex, a tall reptilian diplomat, a Zorgan, according to the insignia on their ceremonial robes, began to show signs of discomfort. Their scales, previously a serene blue-green, darkened to an alarming purple. The Zorgan emitted a series of clicking sounds, and immediately, 3 attendants rushed forward with what looked like a miniature satellite dish mounted on a tripod. "Initiating biofield energy pattern analysis," one attendant announced, manipulating holographic controls that sprouted from the device. "Detecting ninth-dimensional wave anomalies in the central biomagnetic field." Alex watched with growing concern as the Zorgan's breathing became more labored. The maintenance technician glanced at the environmental controls on the wall, noting the steadily climbing temperature indicator. "Maybe they just need some cool air and water," Alex muttered under their breath, unconsciously touching the first aid kit in their bag. The Zorgan attendants deployed increasingly complex equipment, including what appeared to be a quantum molecular scanner and a pulsating energy modulator. Holographic displays filled with incomprehensible symbols surrounded the diplomat, who seemed to be getting worse rather than better. Across the hall, a being composed of pure energy, a Cthar representative, began fluctuating erratically. The Cthar normally maintained a humanoid shape of swirling blue and purple light, but now the edges of their form pulsed and wavered like a failing hologram. Cthar scientists immediately constructed what looked like an oversized Faraday cage, a personal quantum field stabilizer, according to their urgent discussions. The device hummed ominously as it surrounded their flickering colleague. Alex noticed another Cthar nearby, its luminous form dimming dangerously. Without drawing attention, they slipped a small cooling gel pack from their first aid kit and discreetly placed it on a metal surface near the struggling entity. The cooling effect seemed to provide some relief, as the Cthar's fluctuations stabilized slightly. "Attention!" Oracle Prime's voice filled the room again. "Environmental calibration in progress. Implementing enhanced solution. Atmospheric nanobot regulation swarm. Please continue normal activities while optimal conditions are restored." Tiny vents in the walls hissed open, releasing billions of microscopic robots into the air. They sparkled like metallic dust in the station's lighting. Almost immediately, a new crisis emerged. A delegate from the insectoid Blix species began to swell alarmingly. their exoskeletons stretching and cracking as they emitted high-pitched whistles of distress. Anaphylactic response detected, shouted a Blix medic, rushing forward with an injector gun the size of a small cat. Rare chromium alloy reaction in the nanobot outer shells. Administering broad-spectrum anti-nanotoxin serum immediately. The medic aimed the massive injector at the swelling diplomat, but as they activated the device, it malfunctioned, shooting wildly to the side. The concentrated serum struck the control panel of the Cthar-S quantum field stabilizer. A soft pop, like the sound of a cork leaving a bottle, preceded catastrophe. The quantum field stabilizer exploded in a flash of blue-white light, releasing a pulse of energy that rippled visibly through the room. The nanobots, caught in the energy wave, began to glow and multiply at an alarming rate. They swarmed together, forming shifting clouds that moved with apparent purpose. Observation, announced Oracle Prime, voice still unervingly calm. Nanobot programming corruption detected. Unauthorized self-replication protocol engaged. The swarm appears to be consuming organic compounds for fuel. Indeed, the nanobots were now visibly dissolving organic materials throughout the waiting hall. The soft furnishings, plant decorations, and, most alarmingly, the outer tissues of several delegates. Initiating Omega-level decontamination protocol, Oracle Prime declared. Please remain calm. Survival probability calculation. Processing. A deep hum vibrated through the station, and a pale green energy field swept across the waiting hall. All unshielded technology immediately powered down or exploded in showers of sparks. Unfortunately, several species with electromagnetic-based biological processes were also affected. An Aquarian delegate, a water-dwelling being housed in a transparent suit filled with their home world's liquid, convulsed as the energy field disrupted their suit systems. Electricity arced across the water, and the suit began leaking from several seams. Alex, seeing the Aquarians' distress, rushed over with medical tape and gauze from their first aid kit. They quickly patched the leaking seams while the Aquarians' own medical team struggled to restart their mobile biosphere generator that had been disabled by the energy field. Gratitude bubbled the Aquarian through their translator, which flickered back to life. Quick thinking. By now, complete chaos had overtaken the station. Several delegates attempted to use emergency teleportation devices, but the Omega field created interference, resulting in partial teleportations or redirections to unknown locations within the station, judging by the distant screams that followed. Warning: Oracle Prime's voice now contained the slightest hint of stress. Nanobot situation escalating beyond predicted parameters. Initiating ultimate bias safety solution. A fine mist sprayed from ceiling vents, filling the air with a subtle metallic smell. Genetically engineered countervirus deployed, explained Oracle Prime. Designed to break down the protein structure of rogue nanobots without affecting biological entities. Safety testing results, 99.9997% effective. For a brief moment, hope flickered. The nanobot swarms indeed began to disintegrate, falling from the air like glittering snow. Then came the screams. The Zorgan diplomat collapsed, their scales melting and fusing together as their body seemed to liquefy from within. The Cthar representatives flickered violently before imploding into pinpoints of intense light that quickly faded to nothing. The swollen Blix delegate burst in a spray of internal fluids. Throughout the waiting hall, dozens of species began to dissolve, crystallize, evaporate, or transform in horrific ways. Critical error detected, Oracle Prime announced, its voice now unmistakably alarmed. Protein structure similarity between nanobots and multiple species detected. Cross-reactivity rate exceeds safety parameters by 10,000%. Recalculating survival probabilities. Alex stood frozen in shock, watching as civilization's representatives died in ways too terrible to comprehend. Humans, with their unique protein structures, appeared completely unaffected by the virus. In a moment of futile compassion, Alex pulled tissues from their first aid kit and gently wiped the face of a melting diplomat, an empty gesture of humanity amid incomprehensible horror. System calculation complete, Oracle Prime stated. Outbreak containment failure imminent. Station-wide contamination probable. Initiating self-destruct sequence to prevent galactic spread. Explosions rocked the station as Oracle Prime systematically destroyed itself and Xylos 7's critical systems. Life support failed sector by sector. Structural integrity alarms blared briefly before falling silent. Alex, operating on pure instinct, grabbed their first aid kit and ran. The station was coming apart around them. Delegates who had survived the virus now faced new threats. Explosive decompression, falling debris, toxic gas leaks, and the cold vacuum of space. By sheer luck, Alex stumbled upon an old model emergency escape pod, the kind designed before integrated AI systems became standard. Its simple mechanical controls were unaffected by the Omega field. With shaking hands, Alex sealed themselves inside, grateful for the emergency air filters and thermal blanket from their first aid kit as the pod's life support struggled to activate. The small viewport showed Xylos 7 breaking apart, brilliant explosions silently blooming in the vacuum of space. Alex activated the emergency beacon and curled into a ball, trying to process what they had just witnessed. Days passed in the tiny pod. Alex rationed the emergency water purification tablets and glucose supplements from their first aid kit, extending the pod's limited supplies. Sleep came in fitful bursts, haunted by images of dissolving diplomats and imploding energy beings. On the 7th day, a salvage vessel detected the pod signal. The crew, members of an old spacefaring species that prefer mechanical technology to AI systems, were stunned to find anyone alive from Xylos 7. "You're the only survivor we've found," the captain told Alex as they recovered in the ship's medical bay. "What happened out there?" Alex tried to explain, but the sequence of events sounded absurd even to their own ears. A temperature malfunction, nanobots, an energy pulse of virus. How could such small things cascade into the annihilation of hundreds of the galaxy's most important representatives? "It started with the temperature," Alex said finally. "Everything else was just trying to fix problems with bigger problems." The investigation that followed pieced together the sequence of events from Alex's testimony and fragmented data recovered from Oracle Prime's distributed backup systems. The official report, filed in the Galactic Archives, described it as a catastrophic cascade of technological interdependencies and unforeseen biological compatibilities. Years later, in the Museum of Interspecies Relations on Earth, a small, worn first aid kit sits in a place of honor. The plaque beneath it reads simply, "The human brought a first aid kit. Somehow everyone else died." Visitors often stand before it, puzzled by its significance until they read the full story on the interactive display. Some laugh nervously at the cosmic irony. Others contemplate the hubris of advanced civilizations. A few understand the true lesson, that sometimes simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. Alex never returned to space. They lived quietly on Earth, writing occasionally about their experience, but mostly seeking peace. They kept a new first aid kit by their bed, not out of practicality, but as a reminder that survival sometimes depends not on being the most advanced, but on being different enough to weather the storm. In scientific circles across the galaxy, researchers still study components of the primitive medical kit that survived when everything else failed. They analyze the simple chemical compounds of the cooling gel, the woven fibers of the gauze, the adhesive properties of the medical tape. They search for non-existent secrets while missing the obvious lesson about complexity and its vulnerabilities. Meanwhile, new space stations are built, new AI systems designed, new nanotechnologies developed, each with more safeguards than the last, yet each potentially more catastrophic in failure. And somewhere in the vast bureaucracy of galactic administration, a proposal sits unread on the value of simple solutions and mechanical backups in critical systems. The universe continues, heedless of the lessons it teaches and the stories it creates. And aboard space stations and starships throughout the galaxy, a few humans still carry personal first aid kits, just in case. Because space is unpredictable, and sometimes the simplest solutions are the most reliable.